At Flagstaff College, what you will take is a core of classes. And that core of classes is to provide you with the foundation in sustainability and social change. And those classes are meant to say, how do we understand what's happening in the world, both the good and the bad? How do we make the change that we think needs to be made? And how do we practice making change? The curriculum at Flagstaff College is actually three-pronged. So we recognize that you need to know about the world and about the state of the world, but not just about what's wrong with the world, but what's right with the world. We will have a course, for example, in the state of the world, looking at soils and looking at climate change and looking at the ecological condition and population issues. But we also know that there are some places in the world where things are going well and people are getting it right. So we're looking for both of those, both for the things that aren't working and the things that are working. We also believe that it's really important to know how social change happens. We have a class in social change, and in that class, people will study, how did the civil rights movement happen? How did all of these human rights movements happen? Women's rights and gay and lesbian rights and voting rights. But we also need to really dive deep into that and to understand how you build a movement, how you sustain a movement, and how you keep a movement vibrant. The third part of the curriculum is practical skills. And all of these things are interrelated. But how do you make social change? Not just understanding how did it happen, but how do we make social change at this point in our communities? A core course in our program is a course on permaculture. We think that permaculture thinking is very important. It's a form of systems thinking. It's a form of relational thinking. And it's a form of aesthetics, of beauty on the land. And it's, of course, an incredibly important way of producing food and sustaining the health of the land. Another part of our core is the practice of democracy. Community is the test case and the case study for democratic societies as a whole. It's in communities that schools get integrated. It's in communities where people set up local banks. And it's in communities where people set up gardening systems to provide for their neighbors. So community is the basis of all of it. Flagstaff College is deeply committed to community life, and not in a theoretical way, in a way that it is our partner. As you learn skills in community building, you will also go into the community with our community partners and practice those skills. There is a core faculty in Flagstaff College, but there's also a lot of visiting faculty who are going to come in and teach their specialty. And they might teach it in a weekend course, they might teach it in a week-long class, they might take you out into the field. We are going to rely heavily on people who have really had practice in making the kind of social change that we think is necessary. For example, one of our visiting faculty has been a member of an international delegation that has studied gross national happiness projects in, for example, the country of Bhutan. He's going to come in and teach us about how a country shapes itself around the growth in happiness rather than around the growth in material goods. Another one of our visiting faculty is Annette Mcgivney, a very beloved writer. She's written a beautiful book called Pure Land. And she will teach a course for us on writing to the public and on environmental writing. Our campus will be within the campus of the community rather than separated from the community. You know, if you think about it, a lot of money goes into maintaining a separate campus, to maintaining the buildings, to maintaining parking lots, to providing gyms, and all of that money comes from student tuition. If your community is your campus, it's, for one thing, a really rich environment, and you aren't paying tuition in order to support a physical campus. If we can keep you from being burdened by an undue debt load, then you are free to do the kind of work that needs to be done in the world and that you so desperately want to do.